Hey everybody, Spencer here with a little bit of a intro kind of explaining the situation of this week's podcast. First off, sorry for the delay. Basically, I recorded the panel last Friday at Taiyou Con and haven't really had a lot of chances up until just now to finally get it all edited and uploaded for everyone to listen to. A little bit of knowledge going into it. This was a panel that started recording with basically nobody in the room, and basically thanks to various factors, the room ended up slowly filling up all the way. So if you were at the panel at Taiyou Con, thank you very much for coming. And if it sounds like I'm talking to a room all by myself, that's kind of why. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed the panel. This was the Atlus 2020 fan panel, and yeah, just let me know what you think. Have a good one.
All right, so everyone, thank you very much for coming to the Atlus 2019 fan panel. That's actually about 2020, but I was too dumb to change it beforehand, and everything got printed. So thank you for being here and following my mistakes. So if you guys don't know, I run a Shin Megami Tensei podcast. If you guys like podcasts or just need to hear a sad man talk to himself every week, I am that sad man. I'm Spencer Presley. So what I want to do about this panel, besides make fun of how sad I am sometimes, you'll then find out later on in other ways. We're going to be talking about Atlus's upcoming year, which is actually this year. Don't know why I said upcoming. So before we get into that, I want to talk to you guys, and feel free to talk, not torn, but everyone can kind of throw in a discussion and an opinion. You get one per slide. I'll let you know when the slide changes. So, all right. So the big thing I want to talk about first is 2019, at least for me, I don't know if you guys can all agree, might be possibly either the worst or the most boring year for Atlus in history. We had, at least for Atlus America, we had Persona Q2 and Catherine Full Body. And technically we also had Etrian Odyssey Nexus, but if anyone in here in this room actually bought that, I'm sorry. No Etrian Odyssey fans? All right, perfect. So, pretty slow year. I don't know if it's kind of weird because Japan had a lot better of a year. They had 13 Sentinels, they had Persona 5 Royal, and I guess we were just playing catch up so that other things can happen. But 2020 is looking super, super stacked. So first up, we have Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Who here has a Switch and is looking forward to Tokyo Mirage Sessions?
I already have it downloaded on my Switch.
So you go. We already got it going on. So who here actually played Tokyo Mirage Sessions on the Wii U? I love that it's only two people difference. So it's we got the hardest of the hardcore. All right, here then. Who actually, by the way, we're recording this. No one can hear your hands swift up. So if you guys, to represent your hands, I will accept two forms. You can either do clap or really awkward do whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. That's a hand going up. So who here actually played to completion Tokyo Mirage Sessions on Wii U?
Whoosh.
All right, we're two whooshes because I don't count my own whooshes.
I played it twice.
All right, you double whooshed me then.
Yeah.
So, if you guys don't know, Tokyo Mirage Sessions comes out January 17th, 2020. Just matter of days at this point.
Woo.
Woo, indeed.
Week.
How many?
That's next week?
No, that
It's
should.
the third.
Yeah, we gotta talk to you about how times work. So it comes out on the Switch worldwide. Actually, when I was doing research for this panel, I was thinking about this. This might be the first time we've ever had an Atlus game that released worldwide. We've had games released in America first. We've had games released in Japan. Europe never gets anything first. I'm sorry, Marcus. You guys got some cool rare copies, though. Thank you. So on top of that, it's a first worldwide release, which unfortunately seems to be hitting at one of Atlus's least popular, at least from the mainstream. I kind of wanted to ask a bit of a question for you guys. Why is it that you think more Atlus fans don't like Tokyo Mirage Sessions besides it's not SMT Cross Fire Emblem? No, you can go. No, you don't have to whoosh or clap to get talk. You can talk.
Whoosh. Well, I think the main reason why was because first everyone was all excited, but then of course the screenshots came in, and then the reason was because the censorship issue was, but that was the main issue when it came out on the Wii U here in America. They toned it down, and this was, keep in mind that this was at the time when Nintendo was censoring a lot of their stuff. Like, they 4 kids the Fire Emblem Fates, basically, that year.
No petting.
Yeah,
You can't pet my games.
And, like, they censor stuff. And then, of course, I think was it Censored Gaming was claiming, someone was claiming about the main girl in there, her...
Vagina bone. You can say vagina bone. Hello, everybody. Atlus fan panel. Thank God. I thought it was just going to be me talking to my peers. So yes, we've just started. We're talking about everyone's favorite game for 2020, Tokyo Mirage Sessions. This is an open discussion, so please feel free to talk if questions are asked, or if you have questions, give them at me. I will answer any Atlus question possible, even where SMT5 is. I know where it is. What's your question? You've never heard of SMT5? Oh no, are you talking about SMT5 or Tokyo Mirage Sessions? Okay, I was a little worried. So Tokyo Mirage Sessions might be the most niche game you could ever actually release in the world. If anyone has a better description for it, it is take the gameplay mechanics of a Shin Megami Tensei game, put the coding of it all around Japanese idols, and have it be very, very heavily inspired by characters and elements of Fire Emblem, but not really be part of either world. It's not a fanfiction game in the sense of like, it's not canon to either, even though it has characters from Fire Emblem. Although I'm a super duper Fire Emblem novice, are there any like Fire Emblem fans here who could answer this? Like, how much interconnectivity do the Fire Emblem games have to one another?
It depends on which games they are, because like sometimes they'll just pair a couple of them up in chronological order, and then they'll switch to a different universe.
Okay, all right. So now that we have more people, I would like to take this moment to thank you all for keeping people coming in the door. Hello. Also, thank you for coming to a panel that said 2019 and not 2020. That's very brave of you to assume the typo. Also, our audio-visual elements, I just want to give a quick shout-out to Taiyou Con. They gave us everything we asked for. A microphone, an HDMI cable, and a projector that all do not connect to each other. But they're here to look like I could be showing you my very, very gorgeous PowerPoint. There's a lot of text going on here.
You could just read it.
No, well then I can't read it. You think I wrote this script enough to remember it? There's a lot of details. I got to remember the words brand new content. So we're talking about Tokyo Mirage Sessions. We're going through Atlus's 2020 in as much chronological order as you possibly can. So Tokyo Mirage Sessions is going to have a whole bunch of new content, assumably not actually fan fiction. But so you were actually, going back to what you were saying. I'm sorry, sir, for interrupting you.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So kind of it depends game by game how much they're connected, if not, because I know a lot of the central characters show up.
Like the most recent one, as far as Fire Emblem is concerned, would be Three Houses, and that was a standalone universe. But prior to that was Awakening. No, it was the Birthright and Conquest, which those were like in their own same universe.
Okay.
Awakening before that was paired up with a couple other games, but much later in time, like 1,000 years later.
Okay.
So it just depends on, yeah.
And then you have the gotcha game to make everything confusing.
Right. Yeah. We've all spent a lot of money.
So now that we have a little bit more people, I figured I'd take a chance to ask, can everyone kind of hear my voice projecting okay, or do you want the microphone? Okay. That's better. I like to be louder. I'm a very loud person already. All right. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Even better. Too close. You guys are going to hear every...
Thank you.
When I say Tokyo Mirage Sessions, you'll hear how much I like it by how much I Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Okay, so along with having brand new content, yada yada yada, I think it's important to note that Tokyo Mirage Sessions is a big deal because it is giving basically there's never been a game this unpopular from Atlus since Shin Megami Tensei 9, which I literally know no one in this room has played. It was an original Xbox exclusive that never left Japan.
I wanted to.
Everyone wants to. Phil Spencer will port it one day. If we can get Phantasy Star Online 2, we can get Shin Megami Tensei 9. So it has brand new music, which basically is a big deal because one of the biggest aspects of Tokyo Mirage Sessions is all the idol songs that they got from It's an actual group. I forget who they are.
Apex.
Yes. So, new party members, yada, yada, yada. One thing I kind of want to talk about, we brought up earlier censorship. One of the things that's already been announced about Tokyo Mirage Sessions that's interesting is that it's going to have all the original DLC included, but as of this recording, the game's not out yet. One of the most controversial pieces of DLC we never actually got in America was the Hot Springs DLC. And since we actually have a good amount of people here, I'd kind of be curious, when I'm asking you guys for your opinion, instead of like raising hands because I'm recording this like a big weirdo, if you guys either want to like make a noise or do like a whoosh so we all know your hands are getting raised. So I'm very curious, who here is either turned off or has less interest in Tokyo Mirage Sessions because of the known censorship? Okay. See, you're not alone. There are people out there. And I've always been on the side of, I think the censorship to Tokyo Mirage Sessions is not bad, in more of a sense of its inconsistency makes it kind of annoying. When you'll have boobs covered up by smoke in one screen and then you can see them for the whole boss fight, it kind of makes you wonder, well, why was the smoke covering up the boobs to begin with? Exactly, free the boobs. So one of the pieces of DLC we never got was a Hot Spring DLC that I kind of wonder if we would get, because I'm imagining if you're a player in Japan who actually enjoyed this game, you might be wondering, hey, where's this Hot Spring DLC that now all the foreigners have made me not have to play? Because one of the most interesting parts about Tokyo Mirage Sessions Encore is it is a enhanced port of the game from Wii U, specifically from the North American version. Is anyone here not aware of the changes from the North American version from the Japanese release? Okay, so TLDR for it, basically take sexy bikinis, make them like hipster idol outfits. So it's like, we're not covering it up, we're making them more stylish, which actually, there are people out there who prefer the outfits compared to the lingerie. So before we move on to the next game, I figured I'd kind of make this little open call. Is there anyone who kind of has anything they want to talk about they're looking forward to Tokyo Mirage Sessions, not looking forward to? Like, who here is actually getting it? Yay. Big whoosh. Is there anyone here who has a Switch just for Tokyo Mirage Sessions? Little whoosh, the littlest of whooshes. So I need to ask this because I'm a big weirdo. Even though I love a lot of Atlus games, I own a Switch. I own like almost all the major consoles. What's your question?
Well, it's not so much a question as it is a comment, but after the announcement that the worldwide release of the Switch was going to be the Western version, the sales of the Wii U version spiked.
And very important to note, though, the Wii U version spiked on like #1 of Amazon Japan. At the time, Tokyo Mirage Sessions on Wii U, I think, was going for like $5. So it was very, very cheap. But also, a big thing about that is I find it funny how many people wanted to buy it and import it, when sadly I keep having to remind myself the Wii U is region locked and I can't actually play that without buying a Japanese Wii U, which no one should do. One is enough. One was more than enough. But yeah, so on top of that, what I wanted to ask you guys is I play a lot of RPGs, pretty much more on like PlayStation, Vita, and PS4. How many of you guys are primarily Switch owners or play a lot of Switch? Would you guys say the Switch is a good home for RPGs? Because I feel like Switch has few RPGs and they're very far out in between each other.
Honestly, I actually was going to buy Dragon Quest XI for the Switch, but then I decided, you know what? I don't even think that like Nintendo deserves to have this title for their system. So I literally bought it on Steam or on my PS4 just because I didn't want to get on the Switch.
Yep.
I think they're a good place for classic RPGs and other RPGs.
For sure, yeah, and like it has a lot of like good like retro titles for sure.
Especially
Oh hey, it's still you can still get a lot of good PS2 stuff out there.
I want to mirror the sentiment over there. I play a lot of retro RPGs, and I find that like I take the Switch when I want to travel a lot, and it's just nice to be able to pick up and go and do that. Especially games that don't really stress technological content as much as story content.
Yeah, because me personally, I haven't really played a game dedicated on my Switch since probably Marvel Ultimate Alliance came out, and there hasn't really been a exclusive RPG outside of Fire Emblem and then I guess Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and its expansions, unless I'm forgetting anything like Super Meat. Oh yeah, that's true. Octopath Traveler is a really, really good one.
On PC now.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah. So our next game is an interesting mix because I think a lot of fans don't know this yet, but everyone in this room is going to be excited if they're not already for Persona 5 Scramble. So who here does not know what P5S is? Okay, so in case the one guy in the back who was half whooshing wanted to ask, so Persona 5 Scramble, the Phantom Strikers, is a very bad name. That's actually very accurate, but a very bad name. So it is coming out in a couple of weeks. Comes out February 20th, 2020 in Japan. And for whatever reason, it's actually not been announced for a Western release at all. It is coming out on Switch and PS4 at the same time, so you get to choose whatever you want there. We don't really know the difference between the two. Along with it, even though we only know it's coming to Japan at the moment, we already do have the English title. It was trademarked from Persona 5 Strikers, which makes a lot more sense because I think if your mom and pop are looking at a Persona game and are wondering, what does eggs have to do with this? Why are we scrambling? Important note, if you are not aware, Persona 5 Strikers is developed by the Dynasty Warriors team who make all the Muso-like types. So if you hear that and think, oh my god, I don't want to be Lu Bu and kill 1,000 Chinamen and this is going to be a very bad game, I highly, highly recommend anyone out here to watch or look up gameplay for Persona 5 Strikers. It's one of their most unique games in the sense of, yes, you're beating up hundreds and hundreds of demons, but there's platforming, there's an actual story, you're traveling around the world. The story is actually canon to Persona 5. It takes place after the events of the story, so you'll get to see the characters, like some are now graduated and in college. So it's actually not, I think it's one of the good things about it is Persona spin-offs specifically, I think, get a bad rap of not really mattering in terms of story. I think people, especially after Persona 3 and 5 had no story mode at all, get kind of turned off in the sense of, okay, why are we doing this? Like, as great as Persona Q is as a game, and its story and characters are very cute, we all at the end of the day know that none of it's canon and none of it matters. So outside of those characters in those self-contained stories, it has no real effect on the greater mythos of everything. So I think changing that is really going to have a lot more people interested. And who doesn't like a road trip? They're just going to be traveling around Japan, making terrible teenager decisions, and it's going to be a big, goofy time. Trying to think about that. So obviously Persona 5 Scramble being the most like Japanese only at the moment is going to have like the least kind of concern, but does anyone have any like opinions they want to voice about it? Anything they're concerned about, excited?
It's going to be terrible.
Why is it going to be terrible?
Shut up, Torin.
Good answer.
Shut up, Torin.
All right, so we're gonna end this game discussion with a very easy straw poll, but in whoosh form. Who plans on picking up Persona 5 Strikers on Switch? Okay, that's actually less than I thought it'd be. Who plans on picking it up on PS4? I was just as many. Who here plans on double dipping? I appreciate your honesty. We all have a problem. That's why we're here. We all have problems. By the way, while I'm talking, if you guys want, I have a stack of Weiss Schwartz cards from Persona. If you would like to come up, you can search through the whole stack, grab one, whatever you want. Thank you all for coming. That will not make that much noise, so feel free to keep coming. I'm not going to get that easily distracted. So, next up we have Persona 5 Royal, which I think the most people in this room are probably excited about. Big woo. So Persona 5 Royal is coming out March 31st, 2020, otherwise known as the worst time ever to release a game in 2020? So who here, I'm going to need at least as many whooshes as can possibly be here. Who here is buying a game in March, April, or February, early 2020 that is not Persona 5 Royal? Exactly. There's Final Fantasy. There's Cyberpunk. Resident Evil. Animal Crossing if you're not playing Doom that day, apparently. That's May. May's far away enough. So Persona 5 Royal is coming out at a very terrible time, but I think a lot of us are still excited for it because in terms of Atlus's re-releases and ports of their games, they've never really done anything as drastic as Royal, which is kind of funny because even though the game's going to be a little over 3 years old at the time, it's been making so many changes that I think people are loving and hating, but it's still going to feel like a very different game. So, first off, is there anyone in this room who thinks Persona 5 Royal should be DLC? How many people in this room are okay paying another $60 for a game that I can go to Walmart for $10 right now and play? Whoosh! Okay. Whoosh. I appreciate the honesty, but I always have to stress that I'm okay being a corporate sellout and buying whatever Atlus wants. At the same, Atlus can have your money, but man, you gotta remember.
Shut up and take my money.
Do you want this one?
It's the value in games is always kind of a hard thing to really put up there for it. So either way, the game is not going to be DLC for. If you guys don't know, Persona 5 Royal basically changes the process of the story mode, and things are going to be kind of remixed, change around. Dungeons have changed around as well. We have brand new characters being added. Everyone is very excited for the new waifu of this game, Jose. Any Jose stands in the crowd? Anyone actually know who Jose is in Persona 5 Royal? No. Why would the doctor guy be named Jose?
Why not?
He's the egghead boy in the Velvet Room, in case anyone's curious. No, there is a new female, we all hope to be female protagonist, as Kasumi. So, comparing other enhancements and remakes and stuff, so I immediately thought of Persona 4 Golden as the be-all, end-all. How many people in here, can we get a whoosh for if you have or have played Persona 4 Golden?
Whoosh! I want to.
How many people here have a Vita just for that game?
I want to.
Please play the Vita has a lot of games, guys. Please play other games on that system. Pick up Digimon Cyber Sleuth, for God's sakes.
No, it's on Switch.
Fun fact for anyone out there who actually cares about Digimon in this room, this is a stone cold fact. Digimon Cyber Sleuth on Switch runs worse than the Vita version.
I have both.
I'm just saying.
I have both.
I don't like these truths, but these are truths. Back to our regularly scheduled program, though. Outside of Persona 4 Golden, I wanted to compare Royal to Fez originally, but I think it's actually almost closer to Persona 3 Portable in the sense of how much it changes the overall experience. Whereas Persona 3 Portable was much more of a visual novel, Persona 3 Portable was more visual novel than RPG. I find it very interesting how Royal is trying to streamline the whole process of the game. Let's see. So we've gone over that. We're going to have a brand new semester. For anyone out there who's not aware, there is a whole new semester to Persona 5 Royal. If you are curious and don't want to miss out on this, much like Catherine Full Body's brand new ending, there is a very specific way you have to play that game, or you will miss about a third of its all new content, which kind of sucks, but if you don't want to have to replay it with a GameFAQs open, at least be aware. So this is the one I kind of want to talk about the most. There's a lot of stuff and topics to really get into. One big one, I'd be curious what the room thinks. What is the general sentiment on DLC? How do you guys feel about specifically Atlus DLC?
It kind of sucks.
Thank you for your honesty. Whoosh indeed. That's a big whoosh. So how many people in here, by show of whoosh or groan, how many people here actually bought with money the paid DLC in Persona 5? There was about probably $60 or more worth of it. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this. Persona 5 Royal is coming out in March, $60 game. Did you guys know that there is day one DLC for this game? Did you guys know that this enhanced port is going to be launching with $60 more of DLC? That is costumes, song packs, and boss fights.
Oh, yay!
Yay! Yes. They can have it, but I kind of wanted to bring it up I guess actually before kind of me being bad consumer and having negative thing with it, who here, are there any defenders for the paid DLC? I would love to hear kind of your ideas and why, if anyone is.
We're already paying for a DLC, why would we pay for more? No.
I get that for sure, yeah.
It honestly depends on what the actual content is, where if it's like an expansion, take Guilty Gear Exotic, for instance, where you could get Revelator as paid DLC, and you can still play with the original game.
Yeah, with like how you could originally upgrade Guilty Gear Rev to Rev 2, I think it was like $15 or $20.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it really depends on what exactly it is they're offering.
So is it more the content needs to be there, or is it that the price has to be right? Like, what's for all of you guys? What ends up being more of a factor of how much something costs or how much is really there?
How much is really there?
Okay, because this discussion came up recently. I did a podcast with another YouTuber on the subject of, I think if Atlus really took the time and made like let's say like a royal size content update for like $30 or $40, I feel like they would get a lot more positivity. I don't think they'd get more sales because they know that they have us all on it. Yeah, see you in the back.
So there was a good idea for Royale would be you could buy a game $60 with the DLC, the new DLC, or you get the like an upgrade, like $20 version of Persona 5, like just an expansion. Then you could buy the DLC separately if you want to see it. Like, you see what I'm getting at? You pay like $30 for a game, you pay $60 on the DLC.
No, for sure.
So like Ultimate Editions.
Well, I feel like Atlus doesn't actually know what an Ultimate Edition is. Like every time we get an Ultimate Edition for an Atlus game, it releases 6 to 9 months later, and it's like $120, and everyone's like, "Oh, cool! I want to buy that physically." No, that's only digital, please. Oh, cool! Thanks. Really quick though, because you brought up a good, interesting topic for it. Atlus has basically kind of defended the reason Royal can't be DLC is because how much it fundamentally changes the base game of Persona 5. And I enjoy the fact that those are going to be two very separate, different experiences from a Persona 5 aspect. How would you guys feel paying, let's say, Persona 5 Royal is still $60, but if you own a copy, physically or digitally, when you pop in Royal, it has a trigger so that basically Royal has both versions of the game, so that you wouldn't have to switch over between the two. Would that be a good enough bonus to kind of make it up, or would people, once Royal's out, not want to go back to the original?
So what I think would be cool is if they at least would acknowledge it in the games in some way, like things that you've already done.
Yeah, sadly, all you get is like an item pack. You get like basically like, hey, here's compotions.
It's like the first playthrough for me, I don't know what the average was, but I think it was over 100 hours easy.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to be kind of, recognized for that.
Okay.
Didn't they do that with 3? It was like, if you own 3 originally.
Well, 3
FES came out.
Persona 3 Fez is a little bit weird because technically,
Well, that's a continuation.
yeah, it was a continuation, and you could start from the epilogue. There wasn't any like carryover.
He went back to the main story, wasn't it? Like, don't you want to carry over?
Yes, there was stuff to carry over if you did because there are changes to the base game if you have Fez from the original story of Persona 3. So there were bonuses for it, but they were pretty minute in terms of everything. Trying to think of so we talked about DLC for it, and a little bit of a more positive note. When it comes to enhanced versions of like the overall game with like a Royal, what are you guys kind of looking for? Is it more dungeons? Is it specifically more story? So when it comes to like adding like more story though, I'm curious does it I'm trying to think of a good way to phrase this. When it comes to more story, do you like that they go back and change how the original story is kind of delivered?
Kind of. It depends, because I know some characters, like, I'm really hoping that Shiho can become a confidant of An's friend that gave her a full drive to become part of the band team. So I really want, really like the idea of them going and making different confidants and making different characters that you want to see in the game. But it's more, I just like knowing everything about characters and the setting that everyone's in and their universes. So.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think as far as like Royal, I think it would almost be like purchasing a collector's edition of a movie with deleted scenes, where it doesn't really take away from the original story, but it adds additional scenes throughout.
Okay. Actually, a really good parallel I wanted to bring up for you guys. How many people in here have either played or have seen the new content from Catherine Full Body compared to the original? Part of me wants to guilt the rest of you. The other part of me is aware that was an 11-year-old game that's now $60, so you're okay for not having bought it.
I bought it for $40 during Black Friday.
That's true. That game got discounted pretty fast for it. So for those who played Catherine Full Body, how did you guys feel that the new story was implemented? Because personally, I think Rin could have felt a lot better in the first third, but I think once the game kind of gets her story picked up, it feels a lot more natural. But there's no way you could give someone that game, even for the first time, and be like, hey, who was not in this game originally? Alex, I'd like to guess the piano player in the back, who was definitely not there originally for 200. But yeah, were you guys pleased with how the story was handled with Full Body? Thought it could have been better? Like, are we hoping Royal is on that level or higher, I guess is what I'm asking.
I would hope it was higher, but if it's just that, that's fine. Because, I mean, Rin was better implemented than I thought she would be.
Oh yeah, Rin is like a hashtag cancel Atlus campaign like in the making, but somehow thankfully did not.
Well, because, I mean, she's better handled than the rest of the, new girls have been in the rest of the special editions.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
Because, I mean, she's in the main story. She's not really optional until she just disappears if you don't pick her route. Yes,
as I found out when I imported Catherine Full Body in Japan to play it on the Vita, and I went, where did Rin go for the last of this game? Because if you're not, like I mentioned with Persona 5's third semester, if you're not actively doing the correct options for Rin, she disappears from your game like she broke up with you, and you're just like, oh, okay, I guess I have to choose between blonde or regular girl again. Before I move on to the next game, one of the things I want to bring up, how many people here have not played Persona 5? Okay. No, they're fine. That's good because actually I wanted as many people who had as possible for this. What is a very vocal complaint you have from Persona 5 that you either hope or know Royal changes, and why? Are there any big complaints that stick out in your head?
Yeah, I have a problem. I feel like there's a lot of wasted days you could be doing.
A lot of filler.
Yeah, Persona 4 and 3 are so much better at that.
The way Ryuji is treated throughout.
Exactly. Yes.
I'll at least say this. I like to think.
Existence of Morgana.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, you have handsome Morgana now.
Kill it.
If you don't like handsome Morgana, just skip the third trimester. Doesn't even happen. They abort the rest of the game like that. Who else had any other vocal complaints from P5 that sticks out in their head?
I think the ship was fucking terrible.
The what?
The ship.
Oh, okay.
That dungeon, I think, was a lot of backtracking, going through the longest hallways in the game. So I hope they change that up.
A general sentiment I feel like I've heard a lot from the gameplay flow of Persona 5 is either people kind of say the game feels like it's at least one dungeon too long, or the dungeons need to kind of be trimmed down a bit for it. Now, obviously, we know there are new dungeons and new elements to all the dungeons in Persona 5 Royal. For all of you guys who were worried about the filler, Atlus has actually said Persona 5 Royal should take as long as the base game did, if not less, because of the way they streamlined it. So it will have more content and hopefully have less filler, like you were talking about, where there are those days that are just yep, talk to Ryuji.
There was 3-week period where I wasn't allowed to do anything.
An actual week with flu would be better than flu season in Persona 5, probably. Our next game, I'm just going to hope anyone in this room besides me knows about it or is excited. Who here knows what 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim is? Okay. Who here has played Dragon's Crown or Muramasa or Odin Sphere from Vanillaware? So this is the next game from Vanillaware and is published by Atlus. I'm going to give a really quickie because...
Take it.
So this game has been in... It's kind of weird of development hell in the sense of by modern game standards, this game has been worked on for about 6+ years. It came out in November in Japan, and we have no confirmed release date, but it's more than likely coming out sometime this fall or summer for us. If you guys are not aware, I'll give you a quick little summary of it before we move on, because this game is so heady to kind of get into. It is part visual novel, part mecha, and all gorgeous 2D hand-drawn animated art and a little bit of tower defense. It's easily Vanillaware's like most ambitious game ever, and probably is not going to be for everybody, but if you are a fan of the genre or at least Vanillaware, I highly, highly recommend checking it out. Although if you do not like visual novels, it has a lot of text and will probably turn you off as well. Let's move on. All my fun facts I had about 13 Sentinels, because the real thing everyone here... Well, I'm curious, because I'm not actually sure what the general sentiment is. Who in this room is excited for Shin Megami Tensei 5?
Woo! Yay!
Okay, who in here, and please be as honest as possible, who in here actually is worried that the game is not coming out anytime soon? Okay, I'm glad it's not a lot of people, because I'm always like, I see on the outskirts, like on Twitter and on Facebook every now and then, people will be like, oh my god, they've canceled the game. They've not said anything since 2017. And then I think back to all those other Atlus games that had multi-year like developments that no one asked about. Like, who here has played Devil Survivor 2? Did you guys know that when Devil Survivor 2 came out in 2012, there was about a 3.5 year wait before there was any news on Record Breaker, the enhanced port of it that everyone forgot got announced for the 3DS? And so it's just like Atlus just kind of takes their time for a lot of things. And for this one, what I wanted to get into, Atlus is in a really interesting place with Shin Megami Tensei 5, because this is their first Switch game from the team who made Strange Journey on the DS, not the Redux, as well as Shin Megami Tensei Apocalypse. They are working on Unreal Engine. They're no longer working on their old proprietary engine. That was, honestly, all the DS and 3DS games were basically souped up Game Boy Advance engines that were basically Super Nintendo game engines. So they were not really pushing anything that far in terms of 3D outside of the character models you would see. But one of the things I wanted to talk about with Shin Megami Tensei 5 is, are we excited about it because it's an Atlus game, or are we excited about it because of the potential, because of how long stretches go between the mainline games? Like, as you guys know, Shin Megami Tensei 1 and 2 on the Super Nintendo were not really released in America legally for the longest time, but are very interesting and unique games if you ever get a chance to try them. Nocturne came out on the PlayStation 2 and reinvented either JRPGs or bullying, depending on who you ask. And Shin Megami Tensei 4, I feel like came out of nowhere, in the sense of, I was excited when that game came out, but I don't think anyone really knew what SMT4 was till we really got into the meats of it and actually realized we're going to Tokyo and stuff like that. Like, SMT4 goes in a lot of really weird places. So, like, for anyone in here, like, what is your thought process of why I'm excited for 5, or what should SMT5 be? A good game it indeed should be. Actually, a weird question. Has anyone here not played a mainline Shin Megami Tensei game? That's okay. That's a lot. That's a lot of people. For anyone in here, I guess, who has, what is your guys' go-to recommendation for introducing someone to SMT? What is the first game that comes to mind, and why?
4.
Why 4?
A little bit easier to play. I tried Nocturne and I couldn't do it.
Well, no, Nocturne is a very tough first recommendation for sure.
Nocturne doesn't get good until you fight
Dante does make that game playable for sure. That's very, very true.
Devil May Cry?
From the Devil May Cry series, sir. One out there, in case people are curious, I would say when it comes to DS, Strange Journey is not as tough as a lot of people make it seem, and I think for the 3DS, I would actually recommend the Devil Survivor series, or if you want to be a really big edgelord, the polar opposite of the least recommendable for a first one is Soul Hackers. Soul Hackers is great, but that is the most 90s RPG ever, and I super appreciate the fact that we got that game.
I was thinking you meant like mainline games, that's why.
Oh, any of them. I mean, we have 5 to choose from. 2 we can't play.
No, my first was Devil Survivor 2
For DS.
for DS, yeah, because of the anime. There was that.
Who in this room knows that Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor has an anime?
Survivor 2.
Sorry, 2. No one likes 1 apparently.
No one likes 1. Come on.
Yes.
I don't really keep up with Atlus, but I think I already know the answer. Are they ever gonna port SMTN?
So, the interesting part about porting Shin Megami Tensei 1 comes from. Sorry, does anyone have the time? Because I'm reading this upside down. 441, perfect. All right. Sorry, I wanted to make sure I wasn't keeping everyone from whatever else is going on today. The problem with Shin Megami Tensei 1 is our only translation comes from an iOS port that is localized based off of the fan translation that existed many, many years ago. The problem with that is there are many, many viable platforms Atlus could bring it on. It has never proven financially justifiable, and the iOS port sold like total trash. So it's really in a catch-22 because they listened to the fans and brought it to one platform. It was the least requested platform because most people don't like playing RPGs on their phone like that.
I think the thing is that we only got it because Japan got it. If there was a Japanese port of the game, we would have it. It's just there isn't a recent version.
Well, you have to remember we never got the Virtual Console ones as well. So we could have gotten the Virtual Consoles ones in the Wii days. And even actually the PlayStation Store has a lot of SMT classics from Persona 1. Persona, SMT If, and all the other remakes. Yeah.
Is If even more unlikely to come out?
So If is the weirdest one ever. If anyone out here loves Persona and does not know a lot about SMT, the only reason the Persona series happened is because of the spin-off game Shin Megami Tensei If. It is everything that series would become in a Shin Megami Tensei wrapper, and it originally released for the Super Nintendo, later then on the PlayStation and PC. Super amazing game. I think only a couple of years ago really got a official like fan translation because for the longest time it just never really got complete. But that one's so tough because it's really weird. Like you look at, even though Sega owns Atlus, Sega loves to put out all of their old classic games, and then Atlus is basically the polar opposite. We're lucky to ever get a port, and if it's a port, it's on a very recent system, and it usually does not get a ton of love.
I don't want to play an emulator when the game come out and be like, well, I have no reason to buy it.
I am very against piracy. For any of the unreleased Atlus games, I've always given people the clear because I've never heard any sign of those games ever coming out, and everyone I've ever talked to at Atlus have basically been told, no, these are not coming out anytime soon.
I don't want to do that.
The sad reality we live in is Atlus Japan would have to be motivated enough to make a version of that for them that was big enough for a worldwide release, and I don't think we live in that society, unfortunately.
I just want like a Steam release for like $10. That would be okay with it.
Weird question for the room. Who here wishes more Atlus games like Persona and Shin Megami Tensei were on Steam as opposed to PlayStation and Switch? It's a small market, but like the PC RPG scene definitely has kind of grown over the years as people have seen with stuff like Hyperdimension Neptunia and all the Final Fantasy games getting ported over.
I don't have a PS4 Switch, so
they would try to get it here, but then Epic will try to come in and make it an Epic Store exclusive.
I'm willing to say this as a very big diehard fan. Atlus is not cool enough for Epic to want to get exclusivity. They would rather get like something like a mid-tier indie game than a SMT port on PCs. That's unfortunately the sad world we live in for it. So our last game I wanted to talk about before I wrap this panel up is a little-known Atlus game, the only one I have not talked about, and the one that has the least amount of info, is Project Re-Fantasy. So for anyone who is not aware of this, Project Re-Fantasy is the latest game by Studio Zero. Studio Zero is the actual main developer who did Persona 3, 4, 5, and Catherine. They also did Full Bodied. Project Re-Fantasy is super duper in the early conceptual stage. If you are a fan of more medieval fantasy settings and stuff like that, the art might be up your alley. I just kind of want to throw the room out there because I always feel kind of negative in the sense of I'm not excited for Refantasy in the sense of it's so early. I would not even be surprised if we don't hear anything in 2020. I really wanted to include it of, is anyone in this room excited for Refantasy, or what's our hype level really? That's kind of what I'm asking. Now the question is, are we not really that excited because we don't know a lot, or because a medieval fantasy game by the Persona team doesn't do it for us?
It sounds cool, but I've never heard of it. So.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
Yeah.
The marketing fault with it is basically like, hey, we know what all the development teams are doing, so why is the guys who made the mainline Persona games not doing anything? Which it's kind of a good or bad situation in the sense of they have basically all their games since Persona 3 have been bangers. They've kind of earned themselves the clout to make whatever they want, which is why they're making such a big departure. Like, the only reason we got Catherine originally was, holy crap, how do we make a PS3 game? That's the whole reason we got that, and that's why it's such a huge departure from the rest of the studio's games. So that'll be one to check. Obviously, that's not even going to be a current gen game. That'll probably be like Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. I guess we can kind of wrap it up there. That first, I just want to say for everyone in here, thank you guys for coming and hearing me ramble about games that are probably not coming out anytime soon. If you guys are not aware, I run a Shin Megami Tensei and Persona Facebook page and podcast. About all of it is weekly. Just search up Shin Megami Tensei Network. But yeah, besides that, thank you guys for coming. If you have not picked up a Weiss Schwartz card or would like duplicates, please, I've had these for years. I own a complete set. I do not need any more in my life. But yeah, thank you guys for coming again. Enjoy your convention. And yeah, Atlus games in 2020, as long as they're Tokyo Mirage Sessions, they will all be 10 out of 10s. So go buy Tokyo Mirage Sessions, because that game sold like hot garbage.
Okay.
Good. Well, it was on the Wii U. What do you expect?
That's very true. Also censored, but still buy it. Please buy my censored game. And now is when people would clap, but you guys can all do whatever you want, because I don't really care. Thank you, guys. Actually, you know what? Friend of the show, longest mandate of my life, Patrick, was nice enough to bring his duplicate manga copies of Shin Megami Tensei Con, which, let's be real, who here knew there was an SMT manga that got translated? By Tokyo Pop, no less.
I didn't even know they did.
Exactly. So if you would like the complete set, that is not the whole story, but they only put out 2 in English, I'm going to do a trivia question, and I'll let you guys pick, because I can either do really easy trivia or really mean. Do you guys want the trivia to be SMT related or Persona related?
SMT.
Okay, we're gonna do SMT, because I would feel weird about giving one person Volume 1 and one person Volume 2. So, all right, let's think of one that's not super duper impossible. Here we go. This actually should be easy, but hopefully no one steals it. What was the first, and to this day only, SMT game to release first in the West, and what was it?
Jack Brothers?
No. Jack Brothers came out first. I know you know the answer. I know you know the answer.
Let him answer.
No one else has any idea? All right, you raised your hand first. Okay, what was it? If you get this wrong, I'm going to be really embarrassed.
Shin Megami Tensei Persona Revelations.
No! Oh, no! Okay, what?
Nocturne.
Wow! No?
Devil Survivor?
Devil Survivor.
Overclock.
Yes. Devil Survivor Overclocked released on the 3DS about 3 months before Japan, which was really weird because the game was even fully voiced in English before it was in Japan. So that was your trivia fact for the day. And here you go. Man, I told to shut up for the most panel. You get 2 manga out of it.
Why do I know that? What the fuck?
Because you listen to my weekly podcast.
Yeah.
I'm gonna beat up Warren and steal those.
We're in the same.
We were talking about main line. But yeah, thank you guys again for it. Again, seriously, if anyone wants duplicates, these cards are fantastic, or at the very least, are fun to just like flip around and throw at each other.